I brought these for you. They are very comfortable.
Oh, thank you, my dear. These are wonderful, just what I needed.
Yes, when you wear this, your body will transform into a beauty no man has ever seen. But remember, do not take off the underwear. Before Sarah could turn to ask the old woman what would happen if she removed it, the old woman vanished like smoke swallowed by the night. Sarah stood there trembling, clutching the strange underwear in her hands. Her heart pounded not with excitement, but with fear. She had known suffering all her life. But magic? Magic was something from fairy tales, not from the quiet streets of Millbrook. If you're enjoying this story, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Drop a comment below telling me what you think will happen next. Sarah Martinez had always been invisible. Growing up in the small town of Millbrook, everyone knew her, but never with kindness. Her body was thin, almost frail. Her face, well, the townspeople loved to whisper about it. Look at her like God was rushing when he made her, they'd sneer behind cupped hands. While other women in Millbrook had curves that turned heads, Sarah moved like a shadow carried by the wind. Silent, unnoticed, unwanted. She worked as a waitress at Joe's Diner, serving coffee and burgers to people who barely looked at her. But hidden beneath all that mockery was a secret, a blessing she never asked for. Her grandmother had whispered it to her on her deathbed. Any man who marries you will rise from nothing to great wealth and prosperity. Sarah never told anyone. She wasn't looking for riches. She was looking for love. True love. A man who wouldn't fear her plain face or her thin frame. A man who would choose her for her heart. But years passed. No man approached her. Even desperate bachelors avoided her like bad luck. Some men even said openly, "If Sarah is the last woman on earth, I'll stay single forever." They didn't know that to marry Sarah was to marry wealth itself. Sarah accepted her fate quietly. She lived in a small apartment above the hardware store. She walked to work alone every morning. She danced in her room to songs only her heart could hear. But she refused to lose hope. It was during the 4th of July festival. Colors everywhere, music shaking the air, laughter filling the sky. Sarah stood far from everyone like she always did. It wasn't her choice. No one wanted to stand near her. While the women danced and the men boasted, Sarah stood alone beside a dying bonfire, watching shadows move in the firelight. Then something happened. A young man began walking toward her. His name was Marcus, a handsome, gentle carpenter known for his calm spirit and quiet strength. When the townspeople saw him walking toward Sarah, they held their breath. Some nudged each other. Some laughed. Some whispered wicked things. But Marcus ignored all of them. "Good evening," he said softly. Sarah looked behind her to be sure he wasn't greeting someone else. "Me?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. "Yes, you." Those two words entered her heart like warm sunlight. They talked and talked and talked. Marcus didn't look away from her. He didn't laugh at her. He didn't shift uncomfortably. He listened. For the first time, Sarah felt seen. At the end of the festival, he walked her home through the quiet streets that led to her apartment. He insisted, "I want to make sure you get home safely," he said. And from that night, everything changed. Every evening, just before dusk, Marcus would arrive carrying coffee and pastries. Sarah would brew tea. They would sit on her small balcony under the orange sky, laughing, sharing stories, teasing each other. The friendship grew. The bond deepened. And slowly, gently, beautifully, love blossomed. True love. Pure love. The kind Sarah had waited her whole life for. Marcus loved her genuinely. Not for beauty, not for wealth, not for what she could become. He loved her laughter, her quiet spirit, her strength. And Sarah gave him the piece of her heart she had kept hidden for years. When they finally married, the townspeople almost collapsed with shock. How can a man like Marcus choose Sarah? What kind of spell did she cast on him? This love cannot be ordinary. The whispers followed them everywhere. When they passed by, men shook their heads. Women hissed under their breath. Young girls mocked Sarah openly. But Marcus held her hand tighter each time. And Sarah smiled because for once in her life, she had something no one could take from her: happiness. 2 months into the marriage, things began to change. Marcus's carpentry business suddenly exploded. Clients from neighboring towns came searching for him. People started ordering custom furniture in bulk. He became so successful that the townspeople began to panic with jealousy. How can a common carpenter become this rich? What is happening? Before long, they discovered Sarah's secret. Now, the same men who mocked her wanted her. The same men who refused to greet her now bowed before her. The same men who said they'd rather stay single wished they could replace Marcus. But it was too late. Sarah belonged to her true love. Then came the stormy night. The thunder cracked violently. The wind howled like angry spirits. Sarah woke to find the door wide open. Marcus was gone. No footsteps. No struggle. No scream. No goodbye. Just emptiness. Some townspeople claimed kidnappers took him. Others said it was foul play. Some whispered that jealousy had led to dark things. But Sarah believed he wasn't dead. Her heart shattered into pieces too small to gather. But deep inside, she knew he was alive somewhere. After 2 lonely years without Marcus, Sarah's life changed in a way no one in Millbrook had ever imagined. The same men who once swore they'd rather stay single than marry her now lined up outside her apartment. They formed a queue that stretched past the old oak tree at the corner. Men from neighboring towns traveled miles hoping to see her. Some wore their best suits. Some brought flowers. Some brought gifts. Some cried like babies, begging her to choose them. Sarah had become the most sought-after woman in all of Millbrook. The beautiful women, those who once mocked her, watched with burning jealousy. They whispered behind her back, "One day her secret will come out. She must be using something to charm them. What does she have that we don't?" Some even approached her directly and asked, "Sarah, what are you using? Tell us. Tell us your secret." But Sarah only smiled, that gentle, quiet smile, and walked away without a word. They didn't know the truth, that her blessing was a burden she never asked for, a gift forced upon her, a gift that only brought her pain. Among all the men begging for her hand, one man stood out. David. David the real estate agent. David the smooth talker. David whose tongue was sweeter than honey. He would sit on the steps of her building every evening, pretending to weep. He brought her roses, chocolates, even small gifts of jewelry. "Sarah," he said one night, wiping fake tears, "my heart beats only for you. Let me love you. Let me replace your sorrow with joy." Sarah's heart was tired. Tired of loneliness. Tired of being an object of mockery. Tired of waiting for Marcus, who never returned. So after many months of sweet words, after so much gentle attention, she agreed. She married David. David pretended to love her, pretended to cherish her, pretended she was his blessing from heaven. But once her gift began to work, once properties sold faster than he could list them, once money filled his bank account, once people started calling him the richest agent in 3 counties, his true nature came out. He stopped coming home early. He stopped eating her meals. He stopped sleeping beside her. Then one hot afternoon, the truth exploded through the town like wildfire. David had run off with a young woman from the city, a girl with curves, glowing skin, and laughter like bells. He left Sarah without a goodbye, without shame, without a single glance back. For the second time, Sarah broke. Soon the whole region knew her story. If you want wealth, the townspeople said, marry Sarah. But forget beauty, she has none. Men began to come not for love, not for companionship, not even for respect, but for quick riches. And one by one, she married them. Not because she wanted to, but because she was tired of being alone, tired of the mockery, tired of nights filled with silence and tears. And one by one, after her blessing lifted them from poverty, after wealth kissed their lives, after their pockets grew heavy and their faces grew proud, they left her. Some ran away with prettier women. Some simply disappeared like Marcus. Some never returned home after tasting prosperity. Millbrook began to whisper again, but this time with fear. There's something strange about her. Every man she marries becomes wealthy, then vanishes. Maybe she's cursed, but the men kept coming. Some out of greed, some out of foolishness, some out of desperation. And every time Sarah gained a husband, the town held its breath, waiting for the moment he would vanish. Her heart became a cracked vessel that could hold no joy. She stopped going outside, stopped smiling, stopped believing she was worthy of love. One night, when the moon hung low like a tired lantern, Sarah wandered to the edge of town, ready to leave Millbrook forever. Her steps were slow and heavy, her eyes swollen with years of betrayal, her spirit tired of carrying a blessing that only brought her pain. On the narrow forest path, where people rarely walked, she met an old woman. The old woman's white hair flowed like silver. Her eyes glowed with something ancient. She looked at Sarah as though she'd been waiting for her. "Child," the old woman said, "beauty has punished you long enough. Take this underwear. Wear it when the moon rises. You will become what the world respects." She stretched out her wrinkled hand, holding strange underwear made of silk that shimmered like water under moonlight. Sarah hesitated, but something stronger than fear pushed her forward. She took it. The old woman leaned closer and whispered, "But remember, do not take off the underwear. Not for any reason." Before Sarah could turn to ask another question, the old woman vanished like smoke swallowed by the night. Sarah trembled, staring at the magical underwear. Her heart pounded with terror and hope. She had known suffering all her life. But magic? Magic was something from fairy tales, never something meant for her. Sarah returned home quietly. That night, under the pale moonlight, she wore the underwear and slept. In the morning, life as she knew it ended. When she woke up, her skin glowed like porcelain. Her shape curved like a goddess. Her face radiated beauty like sunlight on water. She became a beauty no eye had ever seen. Even the birds outside her window seemed to pause their songs in disbelief. The moment she stepped outside, the entire town stopped breathing. Men carrying toolboxes dropped them. Women doing yard work forgot to move. Children stood frozen mid-play. Some screamed. Some fainted. All stared. The woman they once mocked, the woman they called plain, the woman they avoided, now stood before them like a goddess descending from heaven. Sarah was stunning beyond imagination. Suddenly, every man wanted her. Not for wealth, not for blessings, but for her beauty. They brought gifts. They brought jewelry. They knelt. They begged. But Sarah only smiled, a small secret smile, because the old woman's final words kept echoing, "Beauty is a gift, but it always collects a price." And Sarah knew this transformation had a dark secret, a cost she didn't yet understand. But one thing was sure. This time, Sarah would choose her destiny, not be used by it. The first man she agreed to marry was Richard Patterson, the richest man in Millbrook. He owned half the commercial properties in town. He had luxury cars. He was the only man in town who owned a mansion on the hill. Richard had always ignored her when she was plain and unwanted. But now he pursued her like a hunter chasing rare prey. He said to himself, "If I marry her, my wealth will increase, and I'll marry the most beautiful woman in town." He promised her everything: respect, protection, riches, anything she desired. Sarah, tired of being alone, tired of men who only came for her blessing, chose him. For 2 months, the marriage seemed peaceful. But then everything changed. 2 months into their marriage, Richard's life flipped upside down like a car in a storm. His properties lost value overnight. His investments collapsed. His businesses failed one after another. His cars broke down beyond repair. His wealth evaporated like water in the desert sun. Soon, feeding his household became a struggle. Sarah watched silently as the once proud businessman became a shadow of himself. One morning, the townspeople awoke to a shocking sight. Richard Patterson, the wealthy man they once admired, now wandered around town begging for food like a madman. Tattered clothes, wild eyes, begging for scraps. Millbrook gasped. People whispered, "What kind of beauty is this? Why did wealth leave him? What does Sarah carry?" But Sarah said nothing. She only watched because deep in her heart, she knew. The price for her new beauty had just begun to reveal itself. Richard's fall spread through Millbrook like wildfire. Behind closed doors, under shade trees, beside evening gatherings, the townspeople whispered with trembling voices, not with mockery this time, but with fear. Her beauty destroys. Her blessing has turned to curse. What kind of woman is this? But Sabrina remained silent. She watched the once mighty businessman, a man who once dined with mayors, a man whose name once commanded respect, now roam the streets barefoot. His clothes hung on his body like rags. He begged for change like someone who'd forgotten yesterday's glory. Children threw things at him. Women chased him away. Men shook their heads, whispering curses. But only Sarah knew the truth. Richard's downfall began the moment he married her. The same blessing that made Marcus prosper, the same gift that lifted David before betrayal, had now twisted into something darker, something alive, something hungry. And in her heart, Sarah knew the truth she feared to say. It was connected to the underwear she'd been warned never to remove. Soon, Richard vanished. One morning, he simply walked out of Millbrook, and no one ever heard him again. Yet, even with all this happening, men still lined up to marry her. Some boasted, "Let me become rich first. Before her curse catches me, I'll run away." Others said, "If we get wealth, isn't madness a small price?" Greed is louder than fear. And so the line of men continued, day after day, year after year, until one fateful evening. A man walked into town wearing a simple jacket. The sun was low, dust rose beneath his feet. His steps were slow, but his presence was powerful. The townspeople gasped. Women covered their mouths. Men dropped their tools. Children hid behind their mothers. When he drew closer, the shock hit the entire square like thunder. It was Marcus, Sarah's first love, the only man who had truly loved her, the only heart that ever chose her before beauty, wealth, or magic. He was alive. News traveled fast, running through town faster than a brush fire. Sarah heard it and bolted from her house, her dress flying behind her. When she reached the town square and saw him, her knees gave way. She fell at his feet, tears pouring down her face. "You're alive," she sobbed. "I knew you were alive." Marcus lifted her gently. His hands trembled as they touched her face, the same face he had loved before the world ever saw beauty in it. "My Sarah," he whispered, "I came back to you." He told the townspeople his story. It was David, the real estate agent, the man who betrayed Sarah, who had kidnapped him out of jealousy. David had tied Marcus up and left him in an abandoned warehouse for months. He would have died there, but a homeless veteran found him half-conscious and called for help. "I stayed away to heal and to stay safe," Marcus said, "but I couldn't hide forever. I had to come back to the only woman I have ever loved." Sarah's heart trembled. She wanted to run into his arms and never let go. But she knew the truth. If she accepted Marcus, the curse would strike him too. He would become like the others, lost, broken, destroyed. And Sarah would rather die than bring pain to the only man who had ever loved her. We're almost at the end. Sarah did the only thing she could. She returned to the forest, the place she first met the mysterious old woman. The wind was cold. The trees whispered secrets. And there, under the old tree, the old woman appeared again. Sarah dropped to her knees, sobbing, "Please, take back the underwear. Take back this curse. My love has returned, and I don't want to destroy him." The old woman nodded slowly. "I knew this day would come," she said in a voice older than the earth. "The heart of men is wicked and selfish. Your beauty was given to punish the greedy, those who sought you not for love, but for gain." She touched Sarah's shoulder gently. "But the one who truly loves you has returned. So the curse has fulfilled its purpose." She pointed to Sarah's waist. "Go home. Remove the underwear. Burn it tonight. Your suffering ends." Sarah wept with gratitude. She thanked the old woman and ran home faster than she had ever moved in her life. She removed the underwear, the cursed beauty, the gift that had destroyed lives, and threw it into the fireplace. The flames swallowed it in seconds, and in the blink of an eye, her body shifted. The glowing skin vanished. The perfect curves melted away. The goddess beauty dissolved. She became Sarah again, the thin girl with gentle eyes and a heart that loved too deeply. When she stepped outside, Marcus stood waiting. He opened his arms. She walked into them, and for the first time in her life, Sarah felt safe. They married quietly, without crowds, without gifts, without the noise of the world. And together, hand in hand, heart in heart, they lived happily ever after. The end. Thank you so much for watching this entire story. If you enjoyed it, please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Let me know in the comments which chapter was your favorite. What other stories would you like me to tell? Hit that notification bell so you never miss another amazing story. See you in the next one.